Kels, what's happening?
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good, good. I'm excited to be here with you guys
Yeah,
today.
man, me too. I'm excited that you're here. Happy Friday. We got men and women everywhere here, and I'm so pumped to jump in. Now, here's a disclaimer. I'll have to jump right at the hour. If for some reason we're going longer, Coach Witt will keep it all rocking and rolling. But dude, you and I got to chat, I don't even remember what it was, a month ago, maybe? I don't know, six
Mhm.
weeks ago, something like that. And I'd had a number of people reach out and go, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this girl. Like you've got to connect with Kelsey. You're gonna love her. You're gonna love what she's doing. You're gonna love what she's all about. You're gonna love what she's up to." A number of so our Apogee men know you and have worked with you or started working with you. Some of our Apogee mentors started working with you on the guy side, and so I got all these people reaching out. And so then you and I jump on and we start chatting. You're doing amazing work right now.
Yeah.
And your story prior to was freaking bananas.
It's pretty crazy, yeah.
It is pretty crazy. Yeah, 100%. So we're gonna do all of it today if you're down. We'll give everybody kind of the high level of the story, of the background, talk about what you're doing now, man, and we just want to chat with you and honor you with your time. So there's the overview right there. Work
Wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here.
works okay for you?
Sounds good to me.
Cool, man. I do want to give some framework around how you got to where you are, but let's start with a little bit of a high level of what you're doing now so that everybody has an idea of kind of how you're defining functional medicine, what you're doing, who you're working with, what you're primarily working on, so they can kind of we'll anchor, kind of where we're going with that. And then we'll go back a little bit to the how you got here sort of thing, because that blows my mind altogether. So, but let's start with
Awesome.
with that right now. Like, what do you do right now ish? If somebody's like, Kelsey, what do you do? Which I hate that question, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask that question to you. So, Kels, what do you do right now? Who do you do it with?
So I do have a clinic called ProFit High Performance Medicine, and we optimize health and longevity using lab testing. And the difference between what we do and what you would get at a conventional practice with your doctor is we look for the root cause as to why your symptoms are occurring. And then we take a functional medicine systems-based approach to help heal the body and restore function and optimization through like diet, supplements, and then we do have doctors on staff too that prescribe hormone replacement, peptides, weight loss medication, stuff like that.
I love it, man. And I want to define too for people when you say functional medicine,
Mm-hmm.
how do you guys define that? Because if so I've nerded out on this topic for years and years and years. So I have a very
Mm-hmm.
different perception. One of the things I understand though is if somebody's not necessarily in this field, they go, "Oh, cool, doctor." Like,
Yeah.
right? Doctor. Hey, that's
Mm-hmm.
it. That's all you. So like what's the difference when we're talking functional medicine and you said something key there, the why,
Mm.
right? Like the root cause, not just treating a symptom, but what is a root cause kind of stuff. Like I want people to have that understanding a little bit. So how do you define like the functional medicine part of that?
So I define functional medicine as looking at the body as a whole instead of siphoning it into like a set of symptoms. So, for example, like a clinical example would be if someone comes to me with gut issues, we don't just put them on a omeprazole or do a colonoscopy like you would typically do at a doctor's office. We do a stool test and we look at their gut microbiome, how they digest their food, their inflammation, their immune system. And then we use nutrition, supplements. I work a lot with like HRV, Oura Ring, wearable devices, and we use all of that data to then help the body heal on its own instead of in the conventional medicine world, you get like a medication if you're depressed, or
Hmm.
you get, a statin if your cholesterol is high. We
Hmm.
approach it more so like, well, why is your cholesterol high in the first place? Or why are you having IBS symptoms to
Hmm.
begin with, instead of just saying, like, hey, let's put a band aid on this problem and just act like it's not there.
Yeah. And again, I think this is the people that connected us initially, or the people that were reaching out to me a lot of times. And then they were saying, hey, you've got to connect with Kelsey. I think that's where they were seeing a lot of these parallels too, right? Because what we do in
Mm,
education, same thing. It's not just like, oh no, at this age you take this class and it's this subject, and this age it's a
mhm.
blanket prescription for everybody without going who is this person? Where does
Right.
he or she live? What is his or her background? Where does he or she want to go in life? Who do they need to connect? Like, without
Mm-hmm.
taking a look at the individual, it's just, school just goes, everybody, you don't matter. Here is the prescription for all, right? And a lot of times in
Mm-hmm.
Western medicine, and again, not bashing Western doctors, just saying we tend to go that way
Mm-hmm.
versus diving into, again, this word has gotten just abused, holistic, but
Yes.
what you're doing is the definition of a holistic view of that human.
Mm-hmm.
And
And I think a lot of functional medicine clinics do it wrong too. I've been in functional medicine since 2014,
yeah.
and a lot of people use it as a marketing term and a buzzword, and so they'll say they're functional medicine, but then they're doing the same thing that conventional medicine does and just
Mhm.
treating a symptom with a supplement.
Mhm.
So I don't want people to confuse the fact that like we're just using supplements instead of medication. We're actually helping the body heal through processes and implementing all the data we're collecting too.
That's a key distinction, right? Because you're right. Because
Mm-hmm.
people will hear that functional. That's why I'm glad you're kind of extrapolating on how you guys look at that. Because people will go, "Oh, okay, functional medicine, cool. Well, then it's a more homeopathic remedy versus
Mm-hmm.
something that's more pharmaceutical, right?" And so then that
Right.
that automatically takes care of it. And it's like, no, that's still gonna miss. You're still gonna miss the boat. You're still missing the point of it if we don't talk about all of that root cause. So, okay, cool. So we're going to get to that. I imagine most questions that come, Q&A wise from the people on here will probably tend to lean towards those kinds of things. And if you guys, everybody that's on here live with us, if you start to have some questions related to whatever, start putting your hands up, as early as you want, so we just kind of see where the questions are popping out so we can bring you in. But I want to get to how you got here too. I mean, we're talking really an extraordinary, like I was just listening to, I could have just watched you when we were talking. I was just like, keep going. Like just like just keep saying all these things because it was like I was listening to like just a fascinating novel in real time or something. Like that's kind of how
Thank
I
you.
felt. Yeah, it was, and very much. And I'm just like, you're listening to this fascinating novel and you're just rooting for this amazing human who's going through all of these things, and that there's a happy ending, and you're just like, oh, like that's how I felt. Um,
Wow. Thank you.
I mean, truly. So, from I mean, being trapped in the controlling environments to battling your own health conditions to, where do we want to start with a little bit of the background on how Kelsey got here? I think we start probably with those younger environments and some of
Hmm.
those early relationships maybe, and then we'll get into your own the personal journey that, conventional medicine couldn't resolve and how all those tied together.
Okay. So you want me to start with my childhood a little bit?
Let's go. Let's go, girl. Yeah, give us.
Okay. So my parents, I was an accident in college. My dad was in med school and also in the Navy. So we were living in San Diego when I was like 2 or 3 years old. And my parents decided to get divorced while my dad was deployed in Japan. And so my mom had gotten papers signed to where he couldn't contact me, and she kind of got full custody and then cut him off when I was young. And so I grew up kind of in a normal middle class family. My mom got remarried, my stepdad, they had 3 kids. So normal middle class family in Southeast Missouri, south of St. Louis. Um, I went to college. I originally was doing interior design, and I realized I did not want to live in New York, and I did not like the design classes. One of my first classes that was like an extracurricular class was nutrition. And I knew my dad was a doctor, but that's kind of all I knew. But my brain just kicked in with nutrition and biochemistry. Like it just all clicked and it made so much sense. And I was super passionate. So my first year, I switched my major to nutrition and exercise science. Then I met my dad shortly after that, I guess, for the first time when I was 18. He actually sent a bouquet of flowers where I was working at Hollister and said that West Kentucky Dermatology wants to give you a scholarship for your college, and it was like $1,000. And to me, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Um, I had
Shout
no
out to
idea.
Hollister too, by the way. Shout out to
Yeah,
Hollister too, by the way. Like, right.
right.
My wife and I met at Abercrombie. We worked over at Hollister too down the way.
Okay, you get
So,
it.
like I'm right there with you. So yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Sorry, not to derail.
So we got that information. I called my mom and I was like, who is West Kentucky Dermatology? I didn't know who it was. And I had an idea. She made me send the money back, write a handwritten letter, and tell him I didn't want anything to do with him because of what her experience was with him. And so initially I did that, but I had his phone number. And so my freshman year, I called him, made contact, we met in person. Meeting your dad as an adult is kind of weird.
Mhm.
So our relationship was like strained at first, but still pretty good. He ended up helping me pay for college, and we still were just distant, like we didn't really know each other that well. I got engaged when I was 20 in college to a veteran. He was actually my high school crush growing up. He was like the older senior, and I was the younger girl in school. And he came back from Iraq, and we met his first night back out on the town, I guess you'd say. Um, and he asked to take me on a date like the next week, and so we had a relationship that went fast, and we ended up getting engaged. We were planning our wedding, and he ended up having a PTSD episode in his sleep and choking me on accident. That really hurt him as much as it hurt me, I think. And he shut down and then called everything off, kicked me out of the apartment. And I had to be hospitalized because I wouldn't eat. Like I was just so depressed and so upset. So that led to me moving to Memphis. So I was in Southeast Missouri at a small college, moved to University of Memphis. At University of Memphis, I had met a lot of friends through a Christian group called Campus Outreach. So we did like a summer internship at SeaWorld, and I just made all these friends, and I was like, I want to go to Memphis. And so I moved to Memphis, and on my college campus, there were street preachers. And they were street preaching about like if you're really a Christian, you won't be drinking, you won't be partying, you won't be doing all these things because they counteract what the Bible says. And I was raised Christian. Like we went to church every Sunday, every Wednesday, like out all the summer camps. And so to me, this was like something I'd heard before, but it wasn't articulated the way I'd heard it from them. And they were young and like excited and stuff. And so I ended up getting caught up into their group, and they were going to plant a church in Dallas. So I had connections with the Dallas Cowboys through somebody I knew in college, and I planned on moving down there to get an internship with the Cowboys for dietetics. Um, so I moved down there, and the church starts, but it's not just a church, it's actually turns out to be a cult. Um, I think a lot of churches probably start with good intentions, and then if the people are young and maybe a little overzealous, they come controlling. Um, it might have also been like a spiritual thing too. I think that they were spiritually influenced by demons or whatever you want to say. It was, but they started to exert a lot of control over us. So it started out with like restrictions on TV and music and who we could associate with because they weren't Christians. And then it became, well, your family members aren't Christians, you can't talk to them. Your friends aren't Christians, you can't talk to them. Well, Kelsey, you're a female and your body is distracting to everybody else. So you have to wear skirts, you can't wear makeup, you have to wear loose clothes, like all kinds of crazy stuff. And then it got to the point where I was like hiding the fact that I was doing school, and I would go to work and like change into jeans at work and stuff. Um, but I was still like very bought into the idea of what they were preaching and like the fact that God was in the group and stuff. They started preaching on that you could lose your salvation. And that really became like a fear tactic of theirs to manipulate the group. And what they would do is say, like, well, if you don't obey this command that God gave us, the elders, then you're disobeying God and you can lose your salvation. So you can kind of see how that transpired into like more serious things. So there was this guy that was part of their street preaching group named Vincent in South Africa, and they introduced me to him over Zoom. And then 2 weeks later said that God told us that you're supposed to marry him. And at first I was like, what? Like, but that's just kind of how the group worked. And I was young and impressionable, and my family wasn't really involved at that point because I kind of I wasn't not talking to them, but I wasn't talking to them.
Right.
And so they tell me I'm going to marry this guy. I have to, or I'll lose my salvation. And to me, looking back at it, I'm like, well, he was the athlete. Like he did play rugby. Like he was in South Africa. So I think it was kind of something in my head where I was like, maybe this is supposed to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I ended up going to South Africa by myself, and I was there for a month. We were engaged, and then a month later we were married. My family did not approve of it. None of my family was at the wedding. It was all in South Africa. I lived in South Africa for a year, and while I was there, I got excommunicated from the cult. And so I started telling all the other girls there who were my friends from college, like, hey, this isn't what it's supposed to be. They tried to marry one of my friends off to somebody she like hated. And so that's when I was like, this is not okay. It took a year for him to get his citizenship, and then we moved back to the US to Kentucky where my dad was, and I started working at my dad's dermatology office, and then he had his own job. Well, he became like extremely controlling and abusive, worse than the cult. Um, not allowing me to leave the house. Like he would take the car so I couldn't leave. I was always only allowed to wear skirts and all that kind of stuff. Could only listen to like hymns. Like even when it came to Christian music, like it was only hymns. You couldn't even listen to like standard Christian music.
Mm.
Um, and then we got pregnant, unplanned. I was actually like trying to take birth control and he didn't know it, but I got pregnant. And then at that point, it all became about the baby. My daughter's 12 now. Her name's Ainsley. And I got pregnant, had her, stopped working, and stayed home with her while he worked. And while he worked, I asked him first if I could get certified in functional medicine and get my
Mm.
master's degree and stuff, and he said no. So while he was at work, I got grants as a single mom because we were married in South Africa. I just said I was a single mom. Um, I got certified in 2014 with my first functional medicine course. So I guess that's like 11 years ago now, 12
Yeah.
years. Um, my first certification. And then once I went through the certification process, I realized like this isn't enough to teach me like pathophysiology, biochemistry, clinical application, all the stuff I need to actually help people. And so then I started getting my master's degree in secret. I would like hide my books in the closet, like had all this stuff with federal grants and loans where I didn't have any debt necessarily to pay for the education. And then he got a job offer when Ainsley was 3 or 4 in Birmingham, where we are now. And so I applied at Lifetime Fitness. It's like a big gym franchise.
Mm.
And I became one of their nutrition program coordinators, but it was a 100% commission job. So at this point, I was trying to plan my exit because the control had gotten more severe, especially as like I became more resistant to it. And so I was working and making decent money for a gym job. And so I was putting it away in an account he didn't know about. And then one day my client came in and she handed me a check for $6,000 and said, here's your attorney fees. And so then I got an attorney, moved into an apartment by myself, and still worked at Lifetime for a little bit. And then I got a job offer at Lifetime with an attorney to be like an executive assistant for a big business. And I was like, this is great. I want to learn about business. Like, I'll learn so much marketing stuff. So I went and worked for him. And he's pretty well known. Like, if I said his name, a lot of people in the South would know who it was. But I worked for him, and he brought me into his office one day because I was also doing functional medicine stuff online on the side. I was running like a functional medicine course while I worked for him because it worked out that I could do online and do what I was doing for him. And he called me into his office one day and he's like, and this is 2019. He's like, why don't you start your own business? He's like, you have all the skills, you're helping people on the side, you know what you're doing, like start your own business. And so at that time, I was actually dating an former Auburn quarterback who had what I believe is CTE
Mhm.
now. Then I didn't know what that was, but fresh out of the marriage, I started dating this guy. He started abusing Adderall. And so he was taking up to 90 milligrams a day, lost his job at Merrill Lynch. And then I was working 2 jobs to pay for him to sit at home.
Wow.
Um, and he was worse, honestly, he was worse than the marriage in terms of verbal abuse, physical abuse, and stuff like that. And I just like, I have such a servant heart, I think, or an empathic heart to where I was like, there's something wrong with him. I can help him.
Yeah, I could fix them.
Yeah, I can fix him. I think a lot of young women fall into that trap,
Yep.
but never try to fix a man. And so Alex, the attorney, actually pulled me into his office, and both at the same time they told me about the business I need to start. He also said, you need to get out of this relationship. And so I ended the relationship, which was really difficult for me at the time. And then I started to like build Profit around the middle of 2019. So no money from anybody else, grassroots, building everything myself, from the website to the logo initially, all of that. I was doing it myself. And I was also working for Beaudreau's under Aaron for Truline at the time. So I started writing kind of like the research and development for some of the supplements they were selling. and blogs and stuff for their business. I also worked for another supplement company. It was called One Mission Nutrition. I'm not sure if it's still around, but it was owned by Keaton Hoskins. He's called The
Mm.
Muscle on Instagram.
Okay.
Um, but he was one of the Diesel brothers. So they had like a show on Discovery Channel and stuff, and I thought
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Yep.
And we started doing the vending events, so like LA fitness shows. We went to the LA Fit show, and I got to meet like Rob and Dana Bailey and Jay Cutler, the bodybuilder, and
Yeah.
all these people that I always thought were so cool. And that was a great experience, but it was also something that opened my eyes up into like what business is like and what networking is and like how to meet these people and how to build relationships. And so into end of 2019, I'm starting the business. At first, I think when you start a business, you think you can make it really big, really fast. And that was not the case. I had to build it really slow. So I initially brought on a bunch of trainers and I'm like, we're going to get a bunch of clients in really fast just because we're posting about it.
Yeah.
Um, but that didn't work. I quickly learned that social media is kind of a scam. A lot of people in business are lying. A lot of them are manipulating their numbers or touting revenue numbers that just aren't true. And so I can math, right? I could put things
Yeah.
together and know how much
Yeah.
overhead is and how much marketing is. And
Yeah.
like a lot of these people on social media are full of crap, you
Uh-huh.
know?
Yep.
And so I started building my business based on relationships. I always posted online and like made an appearance to be there, but I knew that it was really about my quality of service and the relationships that I built. So I honestly, to my own detriment in the beginning, did a lot of free work, a lot of pro bono, which was hard when you're trying to like pay your bills with your business.
Yeah.
But I do think that it was worth it in the end now, those sacrifices I made in the beginning. And I always operated based on my internal values. So I never wanted to lie. I never wanted to manipulate. I never wanted to use my body as a selling point to my programs. I never wanted to have to pay to be in rooms. I wanted to earn my way on my own. That was always
Yeah.
like super important to me. Um, and so through this process, while I was building the business, I was also trying to rebuild my own brain because I was diagnosed with PTSD from both the cult, probably childhood stuff too, and then also the relationship after the marriage. I found neurolinguistic programming,
Yeah.
which is where you can like train your brain to rethink through thoughts. Because after the cult, it was really hard for me to like A plus B equals C.
Yep.
Because in the cult, everything is, well, the elders or God told the elders tell you, you have to listen. And so none of that really like logically makes sense. So I had to cognitively relearn and reprogram my brain, kind of like you program a computer.
That's right.
And so it was lots of like meditation, reading books. Dr. Joe Dispenza
Yep.
and his meditations changed my life because it was a way that I could like calm my nervous system down from having panic attacks and like freaking out about being in public and stuff. Um, so Joe Dispenza really helped me build my brain, but also my business because instead of like looking what everybody else was doing, I was envisioning on what my future was going to be and what I wanted. Like even this office, like I used to be in a tiny one bedroom apartment with my or two bedroom apartment with my daughter. It wasn't like a bad place, but I didn't have an office. But
Yeah.
I remember like visually seeing in my brain and in my eyes like having this office with bookshelves behind me and I want them black 'cause that's my favorite color.
Yeah.
And so I went through the Joe Dispenza, the meditations, the building of my business, and then COVID hit. I was in LA at the LA Fit Expo when it started coming across the screens on the TV. And I was like, this happening? Like, is this the end of all business? Like, are we all gonna die? You know, at first we didn't know. Um, and so I was still working for Beaudreau's, I think around that time. I'd have to go back
Yeah.
and look when those timelines kind of overlapped a little bit. But when COVID hit, I lost all my side gigs. So all the contracting gigs were gone, all the supplement company gigs were gone because all the businesses were doing terrible. And so I had to do profit. That's all I had. And through, I think, just me really giving a good service to my clients, like there was several people that just couldn't afford a service or they really just needed help, and I just helped them and gave them a really good quality service. That led to just like referrals. So my business is probably 75 to 80% referrals now.
Mm.
And I think that's the really big key for anyone here that's trying to start a business. It's not going to be about ads on social media. It's not going to be about going viral or any of that kind of stuff because all of that is temporary. And then you're setting yourself up to rely on social media to give you leads.
Hmm.
So I really focused on, again, just the relationship building. And John Richards, I met him. He was on here, I think maybe a couple years ago,
Yeah,
right?
John's been on once or twice. I brought twice. I brought him on with our young guys. I brought him on again with our guys. He's got his kids out at Arete, which is an Apogee campus out there in Virginia. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we met in 2021, and he was getting med boarded from the Navy SEAL teams in Virginia
Right.
Beach. And I I remember him calling me after trying to go to the VA to get his med board stuff done. He couldn't get his doctor's appointments. He was really struggling with like they call it operator syndrome,
Yeah.
where they have like TBIs, neurosystem issues, endocrine issues, like blood sugar and stuff. He was waking up in the middle of the night, like uncontrollably wanting to eat, and then going and like sleep eating and not even realize he's doing it, and then wake up the next day.
Hmm.
And he shares all this stuff too openly.
Yes, he does.
Um, so we started working together, and I just covered all of his treatment out of my pocket because I knew he couldn't. So we started doing labs. We started doing hormone replacement for TRT. We started regulating his nervous system. We completely changed his diet. You know, he was going up to the SEAL team's dietitian, which they're great, but for whatever reason, they're missing a couple steps, you know? And so we changed up his diet. We changed up his training style, and his body drastically changed in 3 months. And so I was like, this is a huge, like, it just honestly made me very upset that the VA wasn't doing their job and taking care of our veterans and serving them like they deserve to be served because of what they've done for our country. And
Mm.
then also my dad's a veteran, and my ex-fiance from when I was young, that PTSD thing was like a really big thing for me now because I also have it. So that led to me helping a couple other veterans, connecting with other veteran nonprofits to help get them all the services they need. And we started our own veteran nonprofit called Mission IGY6 that is going to be live probably in the next couple of months. But John and I actually did an event together where we spoke on his story and my story. And this
Nice.
was in November of last year.
Mm.
And I spoke for 15 minutes just about kind of how we treated him and what we did. And one of the owners of the companies came up and gave us a $50,000 check.
Yeah, man.
So
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
But that's kind of like the short version of everything so far. I guess we can kind of touch
And
on anything in
yeah,
between.
and hey, all of that is bananas.
It is. Yeah.
Like that's bananas. And I'm not gonna hijack the conversation because we can always, but there's a couple of things in there that I definitely want to continue to touch on. But I want to open it up to some of you to jump in and because I know Erica's got a hand up and we'll have some questions here. But man, before we even jump into that, you're a freaking rock star human.
Thank you.
And what you said, there was something you said in there too, where you said you always wanted to operate on your own internal values. And I don't think somebody can face the kind of opposition, well, really what it was. I mean, you had opposition and opposition from the people closest to you is always harder than opposition from people that are not close to you. Right. And you had
Mhm.
so much opposition from folks that are close to you. And look, we can argue some of it is like, hey, man, don't try to save the guy. Cool. Maybe you brought some of it. Cool. We can argue that. Who cares? The point is you got this opposition coming at you from the people that, are closest to you, and you don't win that without those internal values. I was reminded this morning of a quote. There's an old school movie called The Skulls. You ever see that?
Have it.
Okay, so it's about like secret societies, or secret societies that are built into like fraternities. So it was like Joshua Jackson, Paul Walker. So it's like this like late 90s, early 2000s movie. And it's actually pretty decent. And they've got like their whole like secret society. But one of the things they say is our rules supersede those of the outside world. And it's taken from a secret society sort of standpoint, but I went, you know what, man? I got reminded of that this morning. And went, you know what? I want the code that I live by to supersede those of the outside world too, because the outside world
Hmm.
has a pretty low freaking bar. So I actually
Hmm.
think the Apogee code sort of supersedes that for a lot of people in a lot of ways. And it's going to get you to push past a lot of the opposition, even when the opposition looks like a friendly face. And I think you've
Hmm.
inherently done that. You've got that in you too. So I just major shout out to you for that entire thing, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was really scary to do that, especially when you see everybody running a business saying
Yeah.
that they're making X amount of dollars a month. And I'm like, I have the same business as you. I know you're lying.
Uh,
Because you know what I mean? Like,
all,
eh,
all day long. And again, I don't blast names out there, and I don't, but I've talked to these guys a little bit and drop things. I mean, there are some of the people that everybody love that I talk to on a week. I talked to two very well known, everybody here would know these guys. Talked to them this week, and they're public facing, like, oh, on the marriage side and on the what, and I'm like, stop.
mm-hmm.
Don't say that publicly. You
Yeah.
provide a lot of value to the world. So stick with where you provide. Don't say that publicly and then call
Mm-hmm.
me and be like, dude, I think we might get divorced. Stop it.
Right.
Stop
Yes.
it. Like just stop it.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing. So like a lot of that was this week was a lot of integrity conversations because it's like, dude, you're lying to the world. Stop.
Yeah. And I think when you do that, you hinder your blessings. Like I
For sure.
believe that manifestation and God are kind of similar. And you internally have to be the person that you have to internally be the person you want to be in the future first
Yep.
before those things
Yep.
come to
What's
you.
gonna happen?
God's not gonna give you the things that you want in the future until you're the person that deserves it.
Man, oh man. All right,
Well,
let's
and we get in that comparison of everyone else, and it's one
Mm-hmm.
of the things like we run a young women's program as well here inside of Apogee, and it's one of the big things that I keep talking to them about. As an adult, we compare ourselves to everyone else out there, and what we don't realize most of the time is like it's false. Like, most people don't live in integrity of what's actually happening in their lives.
that
Yeah.
And so I love, yeah, man, you're spot on, coach. And the comparison piece, there's the positive and the negative. Comparison is the thief of joy, everybody said, right? Because you're comparing this to this false narrative. But where we can take advantage of comparison is comparing when we know somebody has one specific, when we know somebody's got a very tangible skill set that's there, that's solid, and we can work directly with them. And in fact, like then, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, great, let's compare that one piece, but then don't apply the halo effect that says, oh, okay, just because somebody runs a great business, well, then that means
Mm-hmm.
they must be a great mom. Or just
Mm-hmm.
because somebody is a really good mom, well, then that automatically means business is going to flourish. No, it does not. Those things are not the same skill sets. They're similar,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not the same. Yeah, 100%. I could freaking rail on all this all day long. All right, let's get some other folks in here. Miss Erica Perez.
Hey,
What's up?
how's it going? Thank you for being here, Kelsey. It's what a wild story. It's like you've lived a million
Thank you.
lifetimes. Like
That's
it's
what it feels like.
yeah, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. It's like Matt said. I mean, I'm just like listening to like a great book or I'm watching a movie,
Mhm.
it's wild. So yeah, thanks for sharing. And it's like only get as personal as you want, right? But all I kept thinking is like someone who, you don't meet your dad until you're an adult. And like now you're a mom of a 12-year-old daughter and you're doing, you've had all these wild personal experiences. Like, how has that, let's say, like shaped the way you parent? Like, how transparent are you with your journey with your daughter to like kind of teach her some of the lessons you've learned so she doesn't maybe have to go through them, and just all around that as transparent as you want to be, like no pushing, right? But it's just
Yeah.
yeah, curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my oldest daughter's 12, and then I have a younger baby who's a year and 6 months. And with both of them, I've always treated them like they're older than they are. I've never done baby talk. I've always talked to them like they're adults. With Ainsley, she knows that like bad things happened between her dad and I. I just haven't told her specifics because she's older. But I'm very structured with our routine. I'm very honest with them about like if I'm having a panic attack or I'm having a rough day, I'll be like, hey, I need to go decompress. Or if I say something maybe a little bit more sharp than what I normally say, I like will pull Ainsley aside and be like, look, I'm really sorry. My nervous system is dysregulated today. This is what this means. I'll explain it to her. And I really believe in teaching your children like they're adults from a young age within reason, right? But we homeschool Ainsley. She does a school similar to Apogee where she's project-based learning. She's with other school kids from all over the US. And then we're going to travel a lot and take her different places and educate her that way. But did that answer your question?
Sorry, I muted myself because I also homeschool and my kids are playing soccer right now.
Yes.
Yes, no, it did. And I love what you said. I feel like I do the same way. I've never really treated my children like babies. You know, we have it's very much like they're adults, they're just people. So,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
It's awesome. Willow, let's get you in here, my friend.
Hello, Kelsey. Thank you for being here. It is, like Erica said, I was on the edge of my seat, like, oh my gosh, what is she going to say? So it was awesome. I love functional medicine, have a background in it, and I'm so appreciative of this conversation for so many different reasons. But I want to ask you about your veteran piece. My husband is a veteran. I work with a ton of veterans. And in that space, what is your offering there? Because I want to be able to go to them and say, hey, I have this amazing resource for you, nonprofit, to help partner. What does that look like?
Yeah, so what will happen is the website should be live in the next couple of weeks. So I can send it to Matt when it is, and he can share it with everybody. But what they'll do is they'll go on the website, they'll apply, and what they're going to get is a custom functional medicine program. So not every veteran that comes in gets the same thing. It's all based on what they need. But we do everything from custom blood work to stool testing to organic acids, genetic testing. And then we have 2 doctors on staff that can prescribe things like hormone replacement, medications that they need, and all of it's included and covered by the nonprofit. So they go through the nonprofit takes all their data and information, they send them over to Profit. I am the one that personally does all the assessments on the veterans. I say, like, based on their health history and their symptoms, these are the treatment plans we want to do. I shoot it back to the nonprofit, they approve it, and then we get the funding and we start treatment. And we plan on having them with us as like a client with Profit as long as they need us. So we're working with a couple different private organizations as well as the Department of Defense and the VA. I've actually learned how to be a contractor. I don't know how, but we're working with the government directly for that. So hopefully the funding will be fairly easy so we can treat as many veterans as we want to.
Okay. And it'll all be virtual in nature. And it's just something like if they want to get to kind of, again, the root causes of what's going on, help with, like, is there any specific framework that they need to meet in order to be eligible for this?
The big framework, we're trying to focus first on deployed. So anybody that's been deployed is a priority because they usually have things we want to get fixed a lot faster to avoid suicide and things like that. Yeah. So right now it's priority with people that have served overseas. But other than that, they don't need to have any kind of level of disability or any like specific paperwork from the VA. It's more so like if they've been deployed and they have issues, we'd want to help them.
Okay. And you mentioned a keyword there, suicide in the nature, and I'm very sensitive to the mental health and well-being of our veteran population for sure. Do you have connections with that as well? Like integrated that if there's something there? Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, we have a psych nurse practitioner. So she went to school specifically for psych, and she is focusing on PTSD because initially she was a coach with us and a nurse, an RN, and we started seeing all these veterans with issues, and then there's no psych support. So she actually is finishing up her nurse practitioner school, and she'll be this fall on staff with us directly. We were referring out for it, but we wanted to have everything in-house. And then the people that have really physical issues, like when they have a TBI or a brain injury, the muscles around their eyes are messed up for whatever reason. So we have partners all over the US where we send them physically in person to get different treatments for like the transcranial magnets and the eye strengthening stuff. And a lot of different treatments are available now. And that's our next big goal, is to have a physical location where we can do the treatments for the veterans and research for this in the future.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelsey. I'm so excited.
Also, for veterans, peptides are a huge thing. I don't just mean like semaglutide and the GLP-1s. There's a lot of peptides like dihexa, CMAX, Selenac, where we can actually heal and regenerate the brain tissue. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline for veterans.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That connection on the mental side and the physical side, there was a little bit of that conversation right there. Obviously, you got the PTSD and your own experience there, the all the veterans that have that, and then you've got these physical, these hormonal issues that are going on, talking about peptides, talking about hormone replacement therapy. How much, when we're talking the holistic health part of this, how much are you finding yourself, maybe percentage wise, looking at the rewiring, the neuro linguistic side of things, the Joe Dispenza side of things, like rewiring the thoughts versus the actual physical hormonal intervention? Like, what has that kind of breakdown been looking like for you? And is it different, standard population versus veteran population?
So PTSD is a spectrum, right? You have people that have maybe had like a scary experience in college, or you have all the veterans and stuff. Um, when it comes to the spectrum of, I think they're both the same. I really don't think you can heal your nervous system without getting your nutrition and your exercise in line. I don't feel like you can heal your nervous system if you're not sleeping or if you're overtraining, which is super popular in the veteran community. I also work with a lot of firefighters and police officers and Secret Service, and a lot of the times they're overtraining. And so I have to tell them, we're going to dial it down. We're not going to train this much. But it's usually synergistic. Like, I don't feel like you can separate the two. I think a lot of people do because hormone replacement is like a big marketing term now. But you can't just put somebody on testosterone if their nervous system is messed up. You also can't just put someone on testosterone if mentally and emotionally and psychologically they're at home not being a good person behind closed doors,
Very much synergistic. Very much synergistic. Do you find any pushback when you bring somebody in and you're like, all right, they're like, hey, I'm here for X, Y, and Z on the hormone side. And you're like, cool, let's start to rewire the way you're looking at the world too. A-hole. Like, no, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like, do you get any pushback with that when you start to incorporate that, or vice versa, I guess? If somebody comes, like, do you get any pushback? What is the most common pushback, I guess, maybe you get?
I think people are frustrated that they want results faster than what might be realistic, and that's where the
Human
pushback.
condition. Human
Yes.
condition right there in
Yes.
every freaking area. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they'll be like, I want to lose 20 pounds yesterday and I want to get on testosterone to do it. And I'm like, all right, well, that's not really how that works.
right.
But I'm very strong in the fact that I can deliver a message that's pointed but not mean.
Yeah,
And so I have a pretty good way of like using neuro linguistic programming in the coaching sessions. I actually have it outlined every call. We go through like neuro linguistic programming and like relationship building, and I incorporate it into everything we're doing.
good. Yeah. I imagine you do get probably a lot of the people coming in going, okay, I'm hearing all about, testosterone or hormone replacement therapy and TRT, um, hearing about peptides, so I just want all of it, right? I want
Yes.
all of it and I want it now. How are
Mm-hmm.
you, because this is such a hot topic too, how are you, like, how are you staying on top of all of the right information versus the snake oil when it comes to all this kind of stuff too? Because it's a relatively, I mean, when you're talking functional medicine, it's a relatively new still, um and I don't want to say practice, I mean, but really, like, the hormone replacement therapy, peptides especially, like, it's a little bit of the Wild West still
Yep.
in what people are jumping into. So how are you separating signal and noise on that?
Well, I think my background in biochemistry plays a
Yeah.
huge role in it because
Yep.
before a peptide even comes on the market, I know all the pathways, I know the potential downsides, I know the risks because I know how the physiology works. I've been in peptide world since 2017. I took a peptide for the first time back then. It was ipamorelin and CJC, which is like a growth hormone anagogue. I was 20 something, so it didn't do anything because I didn't need it. But I think a lot of people will see peptides on like the Joe Rogan podcast, because I get a lot of client referrals from Joe Rogan, actually, from the podcast itself, not him directly, but
Yeah.
they'll talk about certain things and then people will come to my website.
Right.
But with peptides, the dose makes the poison and so does the environment. So people that are jumping on the GLPs, like the GLP-1s, there's GLP-2s, there's even GLP-3s like retatrutide, which is still in the clinical phases of testing, but it's available on websites. And the thing with peptides is if you're not doing labs first and knowing if it's a good fit for you and knowing if it's a risk factor for you, then you're going to hurt yourself, because there's a lot of people that are running GLP-1s all the time. They're losing their hair. They're not pooping. They're going to put themselves in a really bad place. There's also people taking or there's like trainers online that have no degree, not even personal training certifications. And they're talking about retatrutide and peptides, and that's irresponsible. It's also illegal. I don't talk about peptides online because I know it's illegal. And that's because I talk to the DEA and I know the rules for my business. So you have to test first. You have to know it's the right peptide for you and why you're taking it. You also need to know how long you're going to be on it. It should be maybe 6 to 12 weeks for most peptides, and you have to rotate off because it is a protein. So if you're overtaking the protein, you're going to build up antibodies to it, and then it's not going to work anyway. So you really want to have strategy behind why you're doing things.
Super interesting, man. I didn't know it was illegal to talk about online too. That's like in the way that some of these folks are doing it too, which is super interesting.
Yeah, the way that they're doing it, I mean, because I legally have to know, because we're working with the government and the VA, I have to know all the rules. And you can't even prescribe all those peptides. I can't call a pharmacy and prescribe it. You have to go to a third-party website, which is considered research peptides. So you get the bottle and it says research on it, which is how they get by the legal gray market of the FDA. Because they're not saying it's for human consumption, then the FDA can't do anything. But they're just playing a wait and see game, because the DEA can come knock on their door, take down their Instagram account, especially in like California. If you live in California and you're talking about peptides, they can arrest you and send you to felony prison for 10 years.
Interesting.
But people just do it because they think like, oh, because everyone else is doing it, it must be legal. But they're not going and asking an attorney or the DEA or the FDA, you know?
Yeah. Oh, so bad. What about and sorry, and Adam, I see your hand. I'm gonna grab you in just a sec too. This is gonna be a super selfish question. One of the peptides that I hear about quite often, and this came up this week too, because I have some friends who are swearing by it, and so they started integrating like some old injuries in BP 157. Right? What same sort of like good, bad needs to be. I mean, I'm assuming that's not some magical, like, well, that falls outside of everything else Kelsey just said. I imagine that's the same sort of like, hey, cool, get some labs done. Let's take a look and see, what the deal is on that.
Yeah, so that's the BPC 157 is body protective compound. You actually make it in your gastric juices. It's what helps your body your stomach lining not deteriorate from the acid. But you make it in your own body. But when you get it as a peptide, it is synthetic. What it does is it pushes blood flow and blood perfusion to an area of inflammation where you might have an injury. So we use it a lot in clients. I'll tell them about it, but I can't like buy it for them, or I can't provide it essentially. We could prescribe it. We were prescribing it back in like 2021. We were able to do it. And then the FDA cut it off and said, you can no longer prescribe this. It's a biologic, which is a way for them just to take control over it. But BPC 157 is usually compounded with TB 500, which helps with the immune system component of healing. It's great for a short-term injury, but it also, if you're taking it all the time or recklessly without labs, it can increase tumor growth because it's going to make anything grow. Same thing with growth hormone peptides.
Yep. Makes sense. I can nerd out about this stuff all day. I love all of this stuff. All right, Mr. Mraz, what's happening, sir? How are you?
Doing well. Thanks, guys. And thanks, Kelsey, for being here. A question I've got for you. So you've talked a lot about the testing, and I've done some testing through Ways to Well and through Function. What do you suggest as far as the easiest or best way to figure out the pricing of what the testing is going to be? Because I've actually checked into some functional health stuff for my dad, and they won't tell you at all. Like, you call in and it's the same, run around of like, come in and tell us, and then we'll let you know what the price is. I'm like, I don't care about paying cash. Just tell me what the price is.
Yeah. So we do everything very transparent and custom. So like when you get on the phone, we do a free consult with anybody interested. So anybody that wants to do a free consult, we can do that. But we have very transparent pricing. Like our comprehensive blood panel has more markers than the Function Health test does, and it's $475. And what they also don't tell you with Function Health and Ways to Well, because I have clients that have come from both, is they give you the lab results, but they don't give you a call to go over it. They might give you a short explanation of what's in the test results. When you buy labs from us, every single person is getting a 45-minute call to go over their results and discuss like what we need to do as a result of that. And then we custom build the blood panel. So like say, for example, you come to me and you're like, hey, I have a cardiovascular risk in my family. I want to check my particle size of my cholesterol and make sure I'm not at risk for cardiovascular disease. Well, I can tell you offhand, that's $150 to add that to the 475 panel. So when you do a call with us, we actually have a spreadsheet of all the different markers we can add, and we can tell you verbally over the phone. And each marker just depends on like if it's a marker or an extra panel, but it can be anywhere from like $10 to $200 to add things to the panel as needed.
Cool. Yeah, Ways to Well actually in Georgia allowed them to do a call, so I did get a 45-minute call with that. Function did not, but I'd at least already had an initial call, and it was like a second round of testing. So
Good. Yeah, that's awesome. Was there any other questions you had?
no, I mean I've got a ton of questions, but they're all around other topics, so I'll let other people jump in.
Okay.
I think Matt may have just dropped off.
Yeah, he got
yeah.
booted, and I'm not sure what happened. So
He's not sure what happened either. I have no idea. I have no idea. It did. I got completely booted, dropped for no reason, and it logged me back in. So I'm sorry about that, guys. I got kicked off when Adam was talking and asking the question. Sorry about that.
We're good to go.
Okay, good. Well, great. Now I'm just
in.
gonna have to get filled in now. I missed it. I really liked your question too. I'm sure Kelsey had a great answer. Dang it. Gosh dang it. All right. Well, let's get this handsome man with a mustache in here, Mr. Brian Hunt.
What's up, everybody? Good to see y'all.
What's up, sir?
Adam jumping on the Ways to Well, I did that, and then I worked with Kelsey, and Kelsey's stuff is way better. So that helps.
Thanks.
I just wanted to jump on and say that Kelsey's helped me a lot with my health over the past several months, and it's been an absolute game changer. So just wanted to weigh in, and if you got something going on, reach out to her. She'll get you squared away. Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure working with you.
Awesome, man.
Likewise.
Yeah, he may or may not be one of the guys that's been singing your praises. I don't know.
I'm so grateful for that. He's been such a great client to work with, and I love working with veterans especially, and we've had a lot of stuff we've been helping him with, and it's been a great experience for me too.
It's awesome. Yeah, solid human over there.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening, Miss Jessica Smith?
I just wanted to sing Kelsey's praises too.
Thanks, Jess.
I've been working with you for off and on for a few years now. And yeah, like I mean, so many things have been different since working with you. I know my last pregnancy was easier, recovering from birth was easier. Warding off a bunch of illnesses that could have happened but aren't.
Yeah.
And I mean, now I'm in the garden in the sunshine with my kids and just feeling healthier and sleeping better and managing stress better, and like your ice pack tricks to help just like reset your nervous system real fast.
Yes.
You just give really, really comprehensive help, like help calm down your nervous system, help your nutrition, help supplements, but not go too crazy on the supplements, and detox, and step by step, little things at a time. So
Thanks,
Awesome.
Jess. It was so good
Yeah.
to see you and catch up with you.
yeah, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Love it. What and I'll have just a few minutes, and if we don't have hands, I want to make sure we do everybody the honor. Whit'll take everybody through debrief. I'll have to jump off for our young men here in just a couple minutes, and I want to make sure people know where to find you and all that good stuff too. But just real quick, what is there this could be a perceived thing because of the amount of the amount of posts that happen on social media, the industry that's built around this now. It could be any number of factors, but there is this perception that we do have a hormonal crisis that we have not had necessarily in previous generations. And I
Mhm.
hear the argument, I get it, and there's validity to it of just like, well, we didn't know what we didn't know then. Maybe, maybe. Also, there does seem to be just, uh, it seems just observationally, anecdotally, it does seem to be we've got some people that are far more messed up than possibly ever before. What are your thoughts on that? Are we looking at some contributing factors? And without getting into, I don't want to get you into trouble. Like I can already see the smile on your face too. Like without getting too crazy, are there contributing factors here to where like hormonally we're kind of screwing ourselves?
Yeah, I remember when I was actually living in South Africa, I think, when this happened. But Alex Jones, he's a little bit crazy sometimes, but he's not always wrong.
Yeah,
He made some video where he was like, the atrazine is turning the frogs gay.
yeah.
And he was
Remember that?
referring to a study where atrazine, a chemical byproduct, was turning the frogs into female, like completely changing their gender. And from a perspective of someone who looks at lab tests, I can tell you for sure that toxins, mold, things in our food, not being outside, not sleeping, looking at blue screens all the time, being stressed all the time. I don't believe, especially women, were meant to operate as like a business person and a mom and managing the household and everything else. It's not good for us. And it's really not good for men either if they're doing all these things and they can't self-regulate.
Yeah,
Um, when your brain is dysregulated from stress or your endocrine system is overtaken from toxins, the
yeah,
hormone system doesn't work.
yeah.
Um, I think a lot of the trans stuff is from the toxins, from our lifestyle, from environmental things, more so than it is necessarily strictly mental health. Like I think a lot of the people that think they're trans probably have low testosterone.
Yeah, there's some ideal. I would lean that way too. Like, look, there's an ideological push, there's an ideological acceptance. There are some of these things. Yes, there are those cultural factors that I think, but I think there are physical factors that are progressing this too. I don't think it's
Mhm.
one or the other, and I don't think it's coincidental that with both of those we're seeing these massive issues and massive spikes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
And I mean, my brother's in his 20s and he's a personal trainer, great shape, and his testosterone comes back at 300 on his labs, which is crazy. It should be 700, 800 at his age.
100% it should. 100%
Mhm.
it should. So interesting. Oh, again, I could geek out on this stuff all day. I'm gonna have to jump for a couple to go to the young men's. I know Coach Way, you're gonna take people through debrief that on here. Kels, we've got 11 billion conversations to continue to have with you. I'll go straight through for the next like 6 or 7 hours down here. I'm gonna shoot you a text in a little bit too, because I got a couple things I want to run by you and keep the conversation rolling. But I'm so dang grateful, man. So grateful. Where does everybody find you, your like social media presence, the business, all of the above, man? Let's put that out there too.
Yeah, so my Instagram is Kelsey, Kelsey_Koehler. I have Profit website is profithpm.com. And those are the best places to find me. And you can always message me directly there. If anybody wants a free consult, that's open to anyone that's interested too.
You're the best. So good.
Thank you.
So good.
Thank you for having me.
Oh man, it's an honor, absolute honor. And I'll let you jump to Whit. You can take anybody through that wants to go ahead and do the debrief on this side. I'm gonna jump over to the young men's side. Some of you guys that are on here might want to jump on that side too. But Kelsey, you're a rock star. I will shoot you a text a
Thank
little
you.
bit later on tonight, man. We'll keep some conversations rolling.
Sounds great. I appreciate it. And thank you everyone for being here with us.